We go talk to Palo Alto, we talk to Cisco, we talk to FortiGate. They're going to give us their biased opinion. So we really look to BlackLake to give us that unbiased and also perspective of other customers. So that's where it really adds a lot of value for us.
How do you keep up with all the contracts, end dates?
It could be overwhelming. If you look at the amount of vendors or from an OEM perspective or products that we have, it's very overwhelming.
How important is BlackLake's lifecycle management product been for you?
We have the Smart Track portal that we're able to keep lifecycle management and have all of our contracts in one place.
What would you tell a non-BlackLake customer where they would want to work with us?
You ask all the follow-up questions that are required to really get to the outcome that you're looking for, not what maybe the statement question was or the request was.
How much is trust important to you in a relationship, especially when it's your job on the line? How's BlackLake helped you navigate those waters when it comes to that?
Doug Foltz and Brian Lynn are probably some of my most trusted people in a technology perspective. If there's a day in the week that I'm not engaged with someone from BlackLake, it's an odd day.
Hi, my name is Michael Pistone. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for BlackLake Security, and joining me today is Andrew Awaldt, Director for Global Infrastructure for Epicor Software. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Well, this is a treat for me. I haven't seen you in a little bit, so tell me a little bit about your relationship with BlackLake Security and what it's doing for you today.
Yeah, it's with the people that are on our team now, it's gone back a few years, as you know. We met probably 4 or 5 years ago now when you were at Palo Alto Networks, and same thing with Doug Foltz, who runs the pre-sales engineering team, and similar with Brian Lynn. So there's a lot of history there, and really what the way we engaged was from a networking perspective. So we had some renewals coming up. That was the first time we got in, and then a couple years down the line, that's when you and Doug Foltz came in and said, hey, you guys are looking at firewalls. Let's look at what the next step is in getting away from your current solution if you're not happy with it. And really for us, it was the time between the traditional layer 4 firewalls over to the next gen. So it was a crucial decision for us at the time, and so that's
and that time was a very unsettling time.
It was
right.
And the great thing about it was just how much information was around in making the right decision, and you guys kind of made that easy, and it's flowed very well into BlackLake and as a partner, right? You're integrated at a deeper level than when just at Palo Alto's. Now we're able to come to you guys about the whole slew of solutions, and you guys have the context of our environment. It's because you guys have asked the right questions. That's really how it's evolved over the years.
So you mentioned firewalls, but I know you guys are moving into the cloud pretty heavily, your own products, and then internally supporting your internal products and customers. You're moving to the cloud. How has that metamorphosis happened, and how have you leveraged BlackLake in that regard?
Yeah, we really did. We wanted to go cloud native, and that means different things to different people. Yeah. So when we kind of asked ourselves, we didn't really know. So that's when we really engaged with BlackLake Security to really get their perspective. What are other customers doing, and gauge the other customers that you have to understand what that looked like from moving on-prem, where you have traditional hardware, to now supporting a software-based firewall or cloud-native firewall. That's really how we kind of engaged and understood where should we be going. What are the caveats when going with a network virtual appliance versus maybe Azure native firewall or AWS native firewall. And BlackLake was able to give us a lot of that data of, hey, here's example customers that are doing similar architectures in cloud, and here's some of the caveats they ran into. So it really helped having that perspective of other customers, and also a gauge of, hey, here's what works well for this vendor versus this vendor versus this vendor. And it really gave us a right amount of data and insights to make the decision in what's best for Epicor and for our environment to host these products behind these network virtual appliances or whatever solution is going to protect it.
Yeah, and to add on to that, it's like we learned a lot too from your requirements and the things that were important to you. And again, we meet with so many customers on a week-to-week basis, and we take bits and pieces of all that, and because not one customer is the same. Right? They could have similar products, different architecture, different needs, different wants.
That's the one thing that we really found as a struggle, and where BlackLake was able to give us a little bit more clarity on it, was what are your specific needs, and here's how they relate to other different products and environments, and here's the direction we would recommend, but please, feel free to add in some insights. So that helped us gain some clarity in where we go and move forward with.
Well, and to add on to that again, I think working with you and your team is helpful for all security and all environments, because you guys run into some things that we don't see. We run into things that you don't see, and so being able to share those stories and share those those things is important.
And an unbiased opinion from BlackLake's side. That's really what we're looking for. We go talk to Palo Alto, we talk to Cisco, we talk to FortiGate. They're going to give us their biased opinion. So we really look to BlackLake to give us that unbiased and also perspective of other customers. So that's where it really adds a lot of value for us. Is we could talk to all these different OEMs, but at the end of the day, they're not asking the right questions and putting in the right solution or offering the right solution. They're offering their solution. That's
Absolutely.
the key difference.
And being on this side, having the arsenal of technologies at our disposal, and really sifting through that with you, and to meet your needs, not our needs,
or even
right?
just exploring how they can help. Right. Talking about tooling, that's a huge conversation right now. Is there's tools that do everything, and they do everything good but not great.
Right.
So when you talk about that's been a big topic for us, is what tools do we do? How are we monitoring? We're traditional monitoring on-prem using, say, SolarWinds or some other platform. Should we use that tooling in cloud? What's the best tooling available? Is it going to be able to monitor at an infrastructure layer? So you're right. It's tricky to navigate, and that's why we need a partner to help us with that.
Well, I appreciate your faith in us to help you through that journey, and it's a continued. It's not over.
Yeah,
it never ends. As Dan said earlier, he's like it's never ending.
and security is probably the top of mind there when we talk about implementation of tooling or protecting the edge. Right, that is changing every single second of the day. There's no one that knows all of it, and the best you can do is combine your minds and make a best decision forward.
So you guys have some SD-WAN in your environment. Obviously, you have Cisco on the networking side. You've got some Palo Alto. You've got a bunch of other products in your environment. How do you keep up with all the contracts and and their end dates? It seems for most customers it's a lot, right? Especially a global company like Epicor.
It could be overwhelming if you look at the amount of vendors, or from an OEM perspective, or products that we have. It's very overwhelming. With BlackLake, we have the Smart Track portal that we're able to keep lifecycle management and have all of our contracts in one place. And so I can go in there and look, hey, you have the serial number, paste it in there from a Cisco side, and here's the contract that it's on, here's the end date, here's when it's going to renew. If it's going end of life, here's what's it's being end of life with, here's a replacement product. And so that helps us not only just for planning and being able to search on day-to-day basis, but for example, right now going through a renewal, I can look in pre-budget for maybe the next fiscal year. What can I expect out of the cost for next fiscal year that I can put into my budget, and it'll be at least close from what we've seen.
Well, I mean, just the product in itself, right? It'll give you recommendations for end of life, end of sale. A lot of our customers have looked at that and go, okay, what that gives energy savings, 25% energy savings by going to this new model, right?
That's a big topic.
Yeah, it's a big topic today.
Green is the device, and that's becoming something that we're looking at more, and it's a part of the portal now, and that's extremely helpful when we want to get that and grab that data. Even when we talk about how are we speccing out a UPS in an office, we can go reference it there and grab that data and be able to spec out a UPS based off of that.
How important is BlackLake's lifecycle management product been for you?
It's been the key differentiator for us as far as partners go. When we look at history and how we manage these contracts, it's only going to get more complicated going forward. That was a key requirement that I was looking for personally, because I have a lot on my plate and I need something else to help me. Yeah. And what better than a tool? And when taking a look at that tool, it helped us. It helps me budget, like I was mentioning, and as well as just plan ahead without having to engage even our account team with BlackLake, right? I can self-service. I adore self-service tools, because who's best to help you than yourself? Of course, you got to lean on people for other things, but for those small things, it helps a ton. So that was a key part for us, was being able to self-service through a portal. So
Thanks for that. I mean, we think it's a game changer, and it's really putting the customer first, right? When like no one wants to sell you. Everyone wants to sell you something, right?
Right.
Yeah, this is actually something that's going to benefit you guys and us to help you plan better. And so,
yeah, and you talk about a VAR, right?
Yeah.
That's the first letter is value, right?
Right.
Value add is really where that portal helps us and adds value as a partner, as well as the relationships from the team.
So how much is trust important to you in a relationship, especially when it's your job on the line?
It's pretty high up there. If we talk about a key member on the team, there's really, you as a part of it, as an extension, less day to day now.
Yeah.
Doug Foltz and Brian Lynn are probably some of my most trusted people in a technology perspective. I know I can go to Doug or his team and ask, hey, here's the challenge I'm running into, come from an unbiased opinion, or what have you seen in the industry? And so I know I can go to them, get their opinion, and I'll trust their opinion because I've worked with them for years, and I know that they're coming from a really knowledgeable background. That's the key part about it. And trust with me is prove that you're knowledgeable about the topic, and that's where it ingrains the trust.
Right. That's so true. I can remember, back in, was it 2020?
Sounds about right.
How many Zoom calls did we have?
More than I wanted to do. More than I wanted
30,
to
40 plus. Typically it would take a couple of face-to-face meetings, but
very rarely at that time.
Right. Well, things have changed, haven't they?
They have. Now we're doing this video recording of over from that maybe seen over the internet versus in person.
Right. So you mentioned, we talked a little bit about cloud before. What is your role in regards to the network, and what are your things that you're looking for in terms of technologies to implement today and for tomorrow?
Yeah, it's kind of gotten outside of my realm now at this point, but early on when we were really exploring cloud and moving heavily into it, that was a big topic that we were trying to figure out, and I think it's ever evolving. When we look at what technologies we implement, it's really what works well for us. It's that context, the Epicor context is what I like to call it, that requires to ask the questions to understand what that context is, because we don't even sometimes know what that is. Right. So that's where, when we look at what technologies you use in public cloud, it's hard to say. In private cloud, it's a little simpler. It's a little more well-known versus in public cloud, depending on where you're at in your cloud journey. It kind of depends.
How important is cloud? And I know you guys are moving back, you guys have some on-prem cloud. Like, where do you see that going?
It's hard to say, just because it depends on the product or the environment. Where we're going, we're definitely cloud first, right? A lot of our flagship products are on cloud, and we're looking to cloud as our go for it strategy. So I think we'll see more growth in cloud. Will everything move, to cloud? I don't think it's likely, but it's hard to say. It could be overnight that we switch over to be fully public cloud. There's definitely benefits in cloud, and there's definitely benefits to hosting your own stuff, whether it be in a colo, your own data center, or even in an office.
Yeah, that's interesting. A lot of the new security, a lot of these security companies out there today are implementing AI into their actual product, right? And then there's some specific AI subscriptions that you could get. How's BlackLake helped you navigate those waters when it comes to that?
Yeah, it's really just understanding the context of other customers. There's not a ton that I've dealt with independently within AI, within the realms that I cover, but I've gone to Doug and asked, hey, what are customers doing? It's a huge topic, right? Agentic, generative AI. It's understanding some of that context where it could be so overwhelming to think about AI in general. If I get told by my leadership, hey, go look at implementing AI, you're like, in what aspect do I, it's very intimidating to understand where do you start. And that's where we'd really look into BlackLake to give us some background. And so I've asked this question to Doug, what are customers doing? What is this? when you're seeing customers implement AI or, go and do AI, what are they doing? So it could be as simple as using Microsoft Copilot just to help your everyday end user to summarize my emails, or, hey, give me a PowerPoint slide deck using my branded, template.
Right.
So for us, and in my role, we're working on it day to day, trying to figure it out. We leverage a few different platforms in minor capacities. We're looking at what's going forward, continue that conversation. We'll see what's on the roadmap. We'll see what's going on in the future.
Andrew, like, how can we engage with you more, right? How can we, get in, through a services engagement? I mean, everyone's doing pen testing. They have multiple partners. We do more than that. Red team, purple team. How can we engage with you, and how can you engage with us?
Yeah, and I think we're constantly in a state of conversation about a potential scope of work, right? It's when we talk about what's needed, and we talk about cloud, that's a big piece where you guys have engaged with the cloud team that covers networking. It's talking about how do we automate the public cloud deployments of firewalls, and that's where we're engaged on that part. So if we talk about going in the future and how to engage on services, I think it's a simple conversation. If we have a need, you guys are able to help us with that in any capacity, and in most of what we're dealing with today from a technology stack perspective. I think it's going to work out naturally as far as building a scope of work and executing on that based off of what our need when we come to you guys on that.
What, and that's, thank you for that. I mean, because that's kind of the core of our value proposition, right? It's like, anybody can resell products, right? But it's the services, it's getting it up and running, getting it right the first time, working with you and your team in order to make sure that the outcomes are what you want. Right. And not necessarily what we want, but what you want. And so I find that the relationship has been very strong in that area. What would you tell, a non-BlackLake customer would be something where they would want to work with us? Like, what would you tell them? Like, if someone came up to you and said, well, why are you using BlackLake?
Why do you pick BlackLake? Yeah. I think the best way I can put it is asking the right contextual questions. What about the environment? What are you looking for? What is your end goal? Not so much what are you looking to implement? It's why are you looking to implement, and how are you looking to implement it? So if we take one of the engagements that we had for deploying firewalls in public cloud and automating that, it wasn't, okay, here's just baseline, scope of work, put it through. We had calls to go over in depth. What are you actually looking to solve for? Are you looking to quickly deploy firewalls? Maybe you're not looking to automate. Maybe you just need a template in Azure or AWS to build it. Maybe that's quicker, right, depending on what your environment needs, right? So asking the right questions to understand what the actual need is versus just, oh, you asked for this, I'm going to give you it. You ask all the follow-up questions that are required to really get to the outcome that you're looking for, not what maybe the statement question was or the request was.
Right. And I think a lot of times, some people lead with product instead of trying to understand what's trying to be accomplished in the first place, right? And so it's like having those conversations are super important in building trust in a relationship. So,
absolutely, right? Going back to the cloud firewall things, it wasn't the conversation of we came to you saying, oh, this specific cloud provider and this specific hardware or firewall vendor, but the conversation quickly turned to cloud agnostic, vendor agnostic. Right. We weren't thinking of that when we were engaging on that scope of work. So that's where it made a key differentiation with the team that was asking the questions on those.
I mean, that's really good to hear, because that's kind of a cornerstone of how we do business through our clarity model, right?
Right.
Kind of, sifting through all the noise. We know these products inside and out. So being able to explain to you that this product might be good for this instance, but probably not, this instance number 2, right? And so, and kind of helping you navigate through that. So we take great pride in helping our customers navigate that.
And we see it every day. I don't think if there's a day in the week that I'm not engaged with someone from BlackLake, it's an odd day, whether it be through a Teams message, text message, or just a phone call. They're at my fingertips anytime that I need them. And that's another key differentiator. We talk about what would be something that when talking to another customer or someone else about why we picked BlackLake, it's the accessibility, the reliability, and the clarity that they provide when we ask them about different situations and tech needs or scope work needs, or, hey, just give me some background on what this technology is. We have a company or maybe a business unit that's implementing something, and I just need a little context. Most of the time, BlackLake's going to be able to provide that to me.
Well, thank you for that, Andrew, and thank you for the confidence that you have in BlackLake Security. I want to thank you today for being with me today. Enjoyed the conversation, and I'm sure we'll have plenty more off camera.
Thanks, Michael.